about the ocean hitting the shoreline. It never stops, it never rests, and it always seems to be consuming the sand and stone. The poet James Reeves captures this exact feeling by comparing the sea to an eternally hungry giant gray dog. When you watch the waves pull back and crash forward again, you're seeing the ocean's version of clashing teeth and heavy jaws grinding away at the beach, day after day. Looking at the first stanza of the poem here on the page, Reeves sets this up immediately. He writes, "The sea is a hungry dog, giant and gray. He rolls on the beach all day." We can check our word nest on the next page to see what he means by his shaggy jaws. Shaggy describes something rough or unkempt. As rough waves hit the rocks, the dog gnaws. It bites and chews at the tumbling stones, hour upon hour. So that constant, everyday roar of water washing over rocks becomes the physical act of a wild animal relentlessly chewing a bone. It grounds a piece of abstract poetry into a physical reality we can all recognize. But the ocean is rarely entirely predictable. When the wind rises at night and storm clouds gather, our sea dog becomes violent. Listen to the verbs the poet uses to describe a storm. The animal moans, howls, and hollows. These words directly translate the shrieking wind and heavy surf into the aggressive sounds of an enraged beast. Let's pull up the second stanza. Notice how the physical landscape becomes the dog's body. The crashing waves against the rock walls are described as the dog shaking his wet sides over the cliffs, howling loud and long. This stanza serves to remind us that beneath the ocean's steady daily rhythm lies the raw, untamed power of nature at its absolute peak. Then the seasons change. The storms pass, and we enter the quiet days of May and June, revealing the tranquil, dormant side of the sea. Looking closely at the final stanza, the metaphor shifts with the weather. The wind drops, the grasses on the shore stop playing their tune, and the sea dog lies down with his head resting securely between his paws. Checking our vocabulary list again, we see he rests on the dune, a hill of wind-blown sand, and the only sound left is his gentle breathing. He scarcely snores, a harsh but quiet noise replacing the deafening howls of winter. By following the dog from a hungry chewing phase to a raging howl, and finally to a deep sleep, Reeves uses the cycle of this single animal to capture every extreme the sea offers, from its most violent energy to its absolute stillness. Now that we have a firm grip on how this giant dog behaves across the seasons, let's look at the textbook exercises to see how this imagery helps us answer structural questions. In Activity 1, the questions ask us to identify the core components of the poem's imagery. We know the sea is the hungry dog, rolling on the beach all day, and that his paws are greasy, matching the specific description found in the first stanza. Scrolling down to Activity 2, the chronological sequence we just tracked provides the context for these sentences. The sea rolls with its clashing teeth, it snuffs and sniffs during the storm, and it rests with his head between his paws during the quiet months. By mapping the dog's behavior to the ocean's physical changes, these comprehension questions become less about rote memorization and more about checking the internal logic of the metaphor itself. Words paint pictures, but grammar builds the framework to hold those pictures together. Let's look at the mechanics beneath the poetry. Look at this chart for Activity 6b. We are asked to categorize sentence fragments into specific phrase types. By looking at whether a cluster of words acts like a subject, describes a noun, or explains how an action is performed, we can sort them into noun, adjective, or adverb phrases. We step up in complexity with Activity 6c. Here, we differentiate between main clauses, which work as complete thoughts, and dependent clauses, which add extra information but can't stand alone. Practicing these structures is the first step toward building our own clear messages, like the ones required for the environmental advocacy in the final section of this chapter. In the Let's Work Together section, there's a prompt for poster making highlighting the need to keep rivers and seas unpolluted. The poet has shown us the sea's power and beauty, which makes these instructions more than just a class assignment. It's a prompt to protect the actual resource we just spent time analyzing. Exploring literature gives us a new way to see the world, and that perspective is most useful when it leads to action. Thanks for studying with us at Akhara Study. Keep reading, keep asking questions, and keep